The world's oil reserves are mostly located offshore. Discovering these reserves may not always be desirable for the oil producers. Reserves can be classified as commercial, uncommercial, or marginal. The factors that affect the classification of the reserve are not always based on the size. It also depends on the current economical, technical, and political state. Commercial fields give high rate of return to the oil company when it is exploited. But for uncommercial fields, they are unlikely to produce a profitable return in any scenarios. Meanwhile, marginal fields are capable of having some return profit when the condition is necessary. In Malaysia, the country has 106 marginal fields that can bring a profit up to $40 billion. Despite the high possible profit, statistics still shows that developing these marginal fields is undesirable. This is because they require the same expensive infrastructures with a smaller reserve and less return profit. But since the major oil price drop in the year 2014, the oil and gas industry are now starting to focus on marginal fields to actually stop the oil and gas sector from falling.
The major challenge in exploiting the marginal fields in oil and gas lies on the retractable profit. The marginal fields are not commercially viable for the oil majors to deploy their expensive material and human resources to produce the fields. Lack of access to funding also hindered the development of marginal fields in a country. Some of the marginal fields awarded in a country are largely sub-economic and non-bankable assets. Furthermore, a fiscal issue that pertains to royalty is one of the contributing factors to the financial challenges in developing marginal fields besides having low oil prices and market volatility. Declining foreign direct investments due to country risks also add up to the challenges faced by the operators. Another challenge is time, whereby production must be optimized to ensure a good recovery and profitability. Meanwhile, in the deep water marginal fields, there is an increase in demand for new generation of facilities. This increases the capital cost to build these units and impact the viability for exploring the marginal deep water field.
FPSO is chosen for exploring and producing oil in deepwater marginal fields due to many advantages. FPSO has been widely used for exploration of marginal oil fields in Malaysia. MISC built a minimum facility FPSO called the Marginal Mobile Production Unit (MAMPU), which complies with marine standards for offshore oil and gas production. FPSO has its own advantages for floating offshore structure. Firstly, FPSO is an offshore production facility that houses both processing equipment and storage for produced hydrocarbons. Secondly, FPSO is a floating vessel located near an offshore oil field, where oil is processed and stored until it can be transferred to a tanker for transporting and additional refining. Thirdly, because FPSO can be moved, there are more economical solutions for marginal fields, in that the vessel can be moved to another development and redeployed once the original field has been depleted. Next, the flexibility of FPSO system also allows them to deal with adverse weather conditions that frequently threaten fixed structures. When moored using a central link system, FPSO vessel can turn to face oncoming weather, which a movement known as weather bending, where the ship allowed to spin in the direction of the wind freely and enabling them to better ride out prevailing storms. Plus, FPSO vessels can be redeployed at the end of the lifespan of a field. FPSO is desirable because it is self-contained facilities. Also, it operates without export liquids pipeline network and as an export platform, as it is relocatable and reusable. Lastly, FPSO is insensitive to additional payload and can be a new build or converted from existing tanker.
Application part, Bureau Veritas company has done research in order to come up with a new generation of FPSO, which is NOR FPSO, where NOR stands for New Offshore Adapted Hull. The innovative part of FPSO touching hull design, which allow a flexible approach to the design and construction of the hull, reflecting the requirements for production rather than regulating production capacity to the design of the hull. The uniqueness of the hull design is that it could be applied to any operational field, as an engineering, procurement, construction and installation processes, and operation as well as maintenance. The wide deck area of the NOR FPSO hull permits the installation for more complex and heavier topsides in comparison with conventional FPSO. The unique hull form of the NOR FPSO consists of flat or two-dimensional bending plates which can reduce construction cost.